So, Milton, tell me about the 1980s. Like, what did you do for fun, for your social life?
Well, for social life, we used to go to the blues dance. We used to go in the daytime. We would go like to bookie shops. We used to have arcades. We used to go and play pinball machine and football machine. That was mainly our entertainment. At nights, we would go to community centers late evening. There was lots of community centers, call them boys club or whatever it was. It's not so much anymore.
Genres?
Well, our musical influences was Jamaican music. Obviously, you had the lovers rock from England, the English music, but I came from Jamaica back in 1967. So when I came here, I was 15, so the Jamaican blood was already in me and the music. So I really listened to the Jamaican music.
Did you have a favorite artist?
Yes, we had Desmond Decker, and there's a few more still. I can't remember all of them at the moment. Prince Buster, Derek Morgan, all those guys. Well, I came to my parents, and they were in a council house, not a flat. There wasn't so many flats around in 1967. So it was the old time buildings. When I came here, I had one sister, and I already had three brothers here. So I came and made four, and I left my younger brother back in Jamaica. He came on later on after I did. It wasn't spacious, but it wasn't cramped. I wouldn't say we were cramped, but we shared rooms, maybe two to a room. In the 80s, for young black boys, it was very difficult. There was a lot of racism around at that time. Also in the infrastructure, they had a law called SUS. Now that law was used amongst young black men to criminalize them, to stop them from getting into certain positions, like government jobs. So young black boys find it difficult to get jobs at that time. And even if they did, they were so low paid that there was no incentive for young black boys to go out and work at that time, either for some guys. In the 1980s, I was living in Brixton. I actually left and went to Sweden, trying to escape from prison in England. Yeah, 'cause they try and put me on a different sentence. They charged me for attempted theft from unknown person. Unknown person. I can't prove that I weren't stealing from an unknown person. And they found me guilty and gave me a different sentence. So I know if I stayed in England in those days, I'd definitely go to prison. Because if you're in certain environment as a black boy, police just come and take you off the street. Because you can't prove you're not a suspected person. You see? I believe they used that law against the Jews back in the early days, like loitering, you know. So we had to fight to repeal that law. And the thing is, our parents, because we were young and they were much older, the police target the younger ones. So when we go back to our parents and let them know that police are antagonizing us on the street, they're saying, well, they never trouble us, so why are they going to trouble you? You see, so we were fighting even the police and our parents. You see, so it was a tough time for young black boys in England. Now that was my house. I bought that house in Brixton, yeah. Bought it in 1979, I believe. Yeah.
So, when you came back, do you remember anything about the riots that took place? Was it 1981?
Well, the riots now, I don't classify it as riots. The Englishmen and their establishment and the police call it riots. I call it young boys, young black boys were protesting. It was a protest, the life that we're living. You had, I can't remember, SPG, their snatch squad. They just pull up in their Black Mariah, jump out and snatch. That's what we used to call them, snatch squad. Because they used to jump out their Black Mariah and just take black boys and do whatever they want to do to them. That's what really caused the protests. That's what kicked off the protests. So, to me it wasn't a riot.
Was you involved in the protest?
No, I wouldn't say I was involved, but I was there. One thing I remember that I won't forget, and this is the only thing I'm going to say about the riot, is when the police line off Railton Road and start beating their shields, and I heard those young black boys retaliate with the African sound, hoo, hoo, hoo. That was just amazing. I never forgot that. That will live with me forever. That's all I want to say about the riot. Well, the SUSLA is like suspected person. Now, what it meant to me is that the system was using that law against young black boys to criminalize them, to stop them from getting into the police or into certain government jobs. Even after the riots, they brought in a thing called positive discrimination. Now this positive discrimination is because they realized that there was discrimination before. But when the positive discrimination came in, most young black men couldn't get in because they had a criminal record. So mainly who went through were the black women. Now the black women who went through, because they feel they are earning more than their black men. They feel they're more powerful than their black men. They feel empowered. So to me, it was all a conspiracy to keep down black men and hold them down. Yeah, a lot of black guys, even if they had the education or the qualification, they were criminalized by laws like this. Police used to plant us. They stop you on the road, they said, where's the weed? Where's the weed? Because from you're a black guy, you smoke weed. So they're looking for weed. They stop your car. They see a black guy driving a nice car. Remember, you're going to get stopped. I was driving a car in Brixton back in the early 80s, a scimitar. And I was going in the opposite direction to the police. And when he saw the little blackhead in the car, he spun round as if he saw a wanted man. And he stopped me. So when he stopped me, I said, why you stop me? He said, well, you were speeding. I said, how can you tell I'm speeding when you're going in the opposite direction? And after bartering with him for a bit, he said, I tell you the truth. You're a young black boy in Brixton driving a nice car, prepared to get stopped. Because young black boys are known to steal cars in this area. So prepare to get stopped. Simple. So that's what we went through. And we had to deal with it. Certain area was worse than certain area, but it was all worse. Like in Brixton, there's a lot of black guys, there's police, so the police, they stop you and things. But if you leave Brixton and go down like to the Old Kent Road, it's even worse. It's even worse. You're guaranteed to get a pull from your black guy driving back in the 80s down the outside of town. Without a doubt. And once they stop you, they're looking for the weed. Where's the ganja? I'm a tennis coach. I'm a professional tennis coach. I work in Brixton since the riots, actually. We were the other side.
How did you get into tennis coaching?
Well, I was a ball boy in Jamaica. And one of the time a tourist gave me a racket. And funny enough, the racket that tourist gave me was one of Fred Perry's personal racket. I brought that racket to England with me, wanted to play tennis, but I ended up playing against a wall for 10 years, from 15 to 25, because it was a rich man's sport, and I was a poor black boy. So, and black boys that I knew didn't play tennis. And if I try and play with my friends, I was like a ball boy, because they hitting the ball everywhere. But when I hit it against the wall, it comes back. So that's how I kept my game going. Then when I went to Sweden, that's how I got back into tennis. Tennis is more accessible in Sweden at the time. A lot of indoors, and you didn't have to be a member to go and play. You just pay and play. Instead of concentrating and playing, I turned to coaching. And I've never left my local community, even though I teach tennis at the highest level, because I didn't want another child from my community to go through what I went through, wanted to play and couldn't play. So I did all I could to bring tennis to my local community, which I've done that. Yes, we've got kids now who play national standard tennis. We've got kids from our program who've gone to one scholarship to the US. We've got kids from our program who's at university doing business courses and sports scholarship. So a lot of work have been done, and I've seen progress. The effect that it had was, like I said, they brought in this thing that came in after the riot, positive discrimination, where they try and balance out, try and put black people into certain position where they weren't. But like I said, who benefits weren't the guys who were out there rioting on the street. You see, because like I said, those are the ones who've got the criminal records. Now the ones who actually go through the door, them themselves don't really turn around and help those ones on the street, because I don't know, they just don't identify with them. Rather than help them, they look at them as derogatories, or I'm better than you, or where I reach, I done it for myself. They don't realize the help that those guys did for them to break down the barriers and fly the gate for them to go through. Like now you can see how many footballers we got, black footballers playing football. In my time we had none. I'm sure the Brixton riot had something to do with these guys getting into those positions they're in now. But do they look back? I don't think they do. I think they just think they're where they're at because of their own ability. So they don't see the struggle and the fight that we had to. But I suppose it's our fault as well, because a lot of us black boys or black guys who were then young and on the inside haven't really wrote about it to teach the younger ones what we've been through. So I can't blame them 100%, because we didn't do the writing so they could understand exactly what we have done for them. It was more the same thing. It was more the same thing. The issue of the shooting was just like a spur point, but the underlying struggle was already there. People were waiting to burst out.
The 80s to that.
I would compare the difference as to say the riots back in the 80s were, well, not riots, I would say it was a protest with a purpose. The one recent riot, I see it more like they were just after name brand stuff. It wasn't so, the protest was there, but when it spread out, they were just looting and doing, so to me it was like without a purpose. They were just going after goods. That's what I said, it was about more the SPG and their Black Mariah's Snatch Squad. These are the things we were protesting against. SUS and all those things that we went through. A lot of difference.
Well, in the 80s riots or protests, there was also burnt buildings and
yeah, you're gonna get
destroyed neighborhoods, and
that's why they classify it as a riot. But you're always gonna get that element once you've got loads of people.
Yeah, well,
Isn't
that could be said that was unnecessary as well. Just the same.
yeah, it was unnecessary, but the purpose of the riot wasn't for that. You see, the whole purpose, the cause, was to break down the barriers, the racism. You see. Nowadays, racism is there, but it's not so much in your face anymore. See, like in our time, like I said, we didn't even have no role models, no black role models. Look how many black role models they've got now. So it's a difference, it's a complete difference.
Yeah, because being young myself, like on a different perspective, I feel like a lot of young black boys of my generation feel the same way how you speak about the police and the racial tension, how it was in the 80s, even though, like you said, it's not so in your face, it is quite subtle now, but it is still there. Like you said, a black guy with a nice car still in this day can't go down the road without being stopped.
Yeah, I'm sure it still exists. I'm sure it does.
Things, so they must feel the same rage and anger that young black boys felt in the 80s.
I can understand that because I went through it. But what I'm saying now, they've got role models they can look to. So there's a difference. Where in our time we had no one to look to. We had to go and do everything ourselves, you see. So the racism, that's what I'm saying, is not as strong as it was in our time. So they can look and they can see Rio Ferdinand, they can see God Crooks, you can name it. They got Lenny Henry, they got all kind of black people now on TV. In my time, you see a black face on TV, you look very good. Tennis is a game for life. It builds character. It motivates young people. If you can concentrate, and tennis teaches you to concentrate, then you're going to do well in your schoolwork. Tennis teaches you not to crack under pressure. You're on your own. You've got no one else to rely on when you're on the court. So it teaches to rely on yourself. Now, if you can do that in real life, when the pressures of real life come up against you and you don't crack under pressure, you're fine. Tennis is a game for life, mentally and physically.